here with Adam Chaffin, and he is the author, writer, and mostly involved with Virginia running, but also he is one of our own from right here in Wise County.
Yep.
And you grew up in what area of this county?
I grew up in, actually right close to UVA Wise on Coburn Mountain Road. I grew up there. When I was younger, moved to Washington State for a couple of years, and then when I was about 10, moved back and lived here up until 2005.
And you're right now currently residing in the Washington, D.C. area?
Unfortunately, yes. In the D.C. area. It's a lovely area for those that might be from there, but not a permanent place where I want to stay. Right. But yeah, that's where I currently am.
And of course, because of the various places you've lived, it's actually helped you,
yeah,
I'm sure, in your writing.
Yeah, it seems like living different places, you kind of, it sounds maybe cliched, but you kind of take a little piece of the culture with you where you go. Like, and sometimes it could just be like a small bit, like, you know, like where I live now in DC, just, you know, a lot of times it gets the, you know, people think people are really rude there. It's not really that, but it's such a fast pace, so once you actually get to know people, they're more similar than you think, and that was like a preconception that I had no idea about.
And if people have not left this region, they don't understand that, because when you travel, there will be a lot of people you think are rude.
Right.
And it's not so much they're rude, it's just that they live such fast-paced lives.
Yeah.
They've learned to answer yes, no, and get out of my way,
yeah,
you know.
Well, like when I lived in Washington State, people there were, we lived in a little island called Whidbey Island on Oak Harbor, Washington's where we lived, which was about, I think, 2 hours from Seattle. And we had to, you know, you could drive around, but we took the ferry when we would go to Seattle. But people there were more reserved, and they didn't open up as quickly as maybe, you know, people from here. But it was due to the fact that, you know, a lot of times people from this region or a lot of small towns, they're pretty much a lot of the time there their whole life.
Right. Well,
that was a Navy town, and there were new people coming in all the time, so they were a little more reserved because, hey, you could up and move in 2 years. So you know, it's kind of cool moving around, and it's a little sad in a way because you know, meet some cool people and stuff like that. But you know, you learn a lot about yourself and about, you know, other cultures and other people and areas.
What is the background for Virginia Running?
Well, Virginia Running is a feature film that we're working on. We actually had the first day of shooting this Saturday, so that's very exciting. A little bit about the story of Virginia Running. It's about this actress, Virginia. Right after high school, she's left Wise County area, and she just up and left. You know, didn't give any warning, didn't give any notes. People knew it was a dream of hers, but it's kind of like just a dream. But she up and left. Went to California, made it big as an actress. She's a huge star, and now she's coming back because she's estranged from her friends, her family, maybe an ex-boyfriend, and she has something inside of her that's telling her, I have to make this right. I've got to make this right. So she comes back, and within the 3 or 4 day period, which is when the movie takes place, she comes to grips with what she's done, how people have reacted to what she's done, and she's going to try to reconcile some of these relationships before she goes back.
And it seems like with your own moving experiences, that has given you a wealth of knowledge about how people would feel and what the friendships that you make and then they have to leave.
Yeah.
And one of the things that in reading the article in the newspaper back when it's been a couple of weeks ago, I guess now, maybe a month, I'm terrible on time, but when that was in there was there about the extras, but that this movie is really just about life, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about life. It's weird when I wrote it, and a lot of people have asked me, why did you decide to come back here and film it? I'll answer that question first. Coming back to the Wise County area, the region is a character within itself. You know, I kind of wanted to shoot a lot of the beautiful scenery, and really out of all the places that I've been, Wise County is one of the most beautiful places, and that's the honest truth. I mean, there's just the foliage, the trees, the mountains. You don't really get that. I've been a lot of places. I've not been to every state, but I've been a lot of places. So that's a key ingredient. But it's life, because I think everybody can relate, whether or not you're. I kind of used Virginia being a Hollywood star as kind of a backdrop, but everyone has had friends that they've lost. Everyone has had probably arguments with family members or been estranged from this person or that person. And whether or not they do reconcile, they have probably wanted to, or at least thought about it. And it's a process of life that you, me, everyone has dealt with or thought about. And that's kind of one of the points of the movie, that this is something that you have to deal with. I mean, me moving around, I made some really good friends, even though I was a young age in Washington. And I remember moving back here, and we kept contact for 1 or 2 years, but you kind of fall out of contact.
Right.
And now with recently with Facebook and stuff, it's weird because you can keep contact a little better. But at the time in the early '90s, you couldn't really do that.
No,
they still had Polaroid cameras then, but
and computers were not like they are today.
No. I remember, on a side note, some of the people that might be watching might remember there was a little computer game where there were floppy disks.
Right.
They were actually floppy disks about this big. And there was a game, I think I was in 2nd or 3rd grade, called Number Munchers.
Yep.
And that was like the extent of the game, or Oregon Trail. That was a big game too. But yeah, the movie is pretty much a slice of life for these characters, because Allie is a hometown girl of Wise County, and actually the girl that we have playing her is from the region as well, as is 90% of the actors and actresses that we're using.
And this is not only a hometown film, so to speak, but this is what they call a Sundance film, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a Sundance film, but what you would really call a no-budget film.
Right. Okay.
Because a low budget would be $100,000, which sounds extreme, but in Hollywood standards, it isn't. Right. I mean, the average Hollywood movie costs $64 million, and that's before marketing. So this is pretty much a no-budget film. All the money that we've raised is the money that we raise is the budget of the movie.
Right.
So that's exciting, because it makes you look at film in a different way. It makes you most films on Hollywood, this is a non-Hollywood movie, but most Hollywood films, shoot 1 or 2 pages a day. Scripts are 100 pages long.
Right.
And people are like, well, how can they remember all that? Well, you can remember two lines of dialogue a day. Especially you have a 10-hour day, and it takes an hour to do 2 scenes.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing something a little different, and probably shooting about 4 to 5, maybe 6 to 7 pages per day. So this will be a little different than your average Hollywood movie.
Right. And of course, Sundance is the Sundance Film Festival, where
it's in Utah.
a lot of actual producers, writers now that are well known in the industry got their start from.
Yeah, Sundance is a Robert Redford. He started that. And a lot of movies, most of the movies that go there don't have distribution already, which means that there's not a studio backing the film. They're self-financed. For this one movie, which was kind of what I didn't really base this Virginia running upon, but one of the strong points is a movie called Garden State. A guy named Zach Braff. He'd written Garden State and tried to shop it around to studios, multiple studios. No one wanted the script, so he found someone to help him finance the movie. Took it to Sundance. Miramax bought the movie, and then it's a Sundance hit, and so forth. But that's the goal with this movie, is to get the movie made, and not only take it just to Sundance for to try to get it sold, but multiple film festivals. We have South by Southwest, which is in Texas, which is a really hip and really cool. Right. And there's Virginia has festivals. Every state has specific festivals.
Festival, right.
Yeah, I mean New York has multiple ones. Every state has some. So we want to try to do that. But Sundance is that's the goal, to really hit Sundance, because I truly believe in my heart that this is a movie that a lot of people can relate to, and I really would be wasting people's time and money if I didn't believe in it. Right. And so yeah, I think it's going to be a success.
And as the writer of it, as the one who has birthed this movie in
Right.
a way. What do you see coming out of it as far as, I know this is not your first script,
Right.
and you've had other success with other scripts, and if you'd like to talk about that a few seconds, you can. But
Well, success. Success as far as maybe a lot of people set out to write a novel one day,
Right.
but they just think about it, or they start it and don't finish. Finishing something
is success.
is success in its own way, but because it's people think, well, you just sit down and write. Yeah, you do just sit down and write, but it's hard to sit down and write something continuously. It's hard to sit down and step outside yourself and say, what's not good about this?
Right.
I started this script back in January, I think, and honestly, I'm still writing on it now. It's complete, but there's always there's fine tuning, tweaking going on. I can do better dialogue here, better character development here. Maybe I can use a different scene here. So we have a basis, and the majority of the script won't change.
Right.
But also, I could be sitting here now and just think of a better dialogue, because inspiration comes. You don't know when it comes.
Well, and that's why Hollywood created rewrites.
Yes.
That's
A lot of movies, it's weird, especially not disaster movies as in like Titanic or
Right.
Twister, but disastrous movies like The Island of Dr. Moreau. They started filming that movie without a finished script, and it was a disaster if anyone's seen the movie. But this isn't that kind. I mean, this is actually a finished
Right.
script. There's been scripts
Just
sent
some
out to
tweaking.
people. Yeah, and but yeah, as far as like success with the script, my scripts had varied over the years. This one guy a couple years back, actually my first script back in 2000, actually in 2004, we made some local people made a zombie movie, a comedy horror movie, and it had more of an outline than a script. And we shot it on DVD, and it's circulating around. It's not exactly what I want, but for the first time, wasn't bad.
right.
And I've had little outlines of stuff over the years, but in 2007, this guy that I worked with, he came up with an idea, and he wanted pretty much for me to adapt his idea into a screenplay, which I worked on that for about 2 years. And that got complete, and I gave it to him, and he was happy with it and stuff like that. And then I moved on to I rewrote the zombie movie that we actually filmed, except there was an actual screenplay, not just an outline for it. And I submitted that to a couple of screenplay competitions, and one of them I finished in top 10. So I was pretty happy. I didn't really win anything, but it's more of like, it's kind of like a feeling that not only with the screenplay did I finish it, but someone else acknowledges it, that they like it.
Right.
And it's kind of like a pat on the back, even if you don't get anything.
Well, and I heard one of the writers that's well known in Hollywood say one time, you can't put a trophy on a resume, but you can
Right.
put a top 10 place on
Yeah.
a resume.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Especially when you're out. Now, right now, you even are doing some radio as a show, aren't you?
Yep. I do a radio show every Monday night on WEBR Fairfax. That's a plug for there. 10 p.m. on the East Coast. And it's kind of a... It was weird when because I moved to D.C. for about a year in 2001. I took a year off from school right after September 11th. I moved up there September 15th and lived there about a year. And at the time, well, it's still big, but talk radio then was, I don't know if it was at its peak, but it was a hot commodity. It's a little different now since, Janet Jackson and all that
Right.
stuff, but at the time, and I'd heard some of these shows, and I was like, I'd never heard this kind of show. It's like, some of it made me repulsed, but I was like, this is just an organic show. It didn't seem scripted, any of that kind of stuff. So I started writing a show because I worked as a projectionist. I did 4 11-hour days, and for the most part, it's nothing but downtime there.
Right.
And so I've just started piecing together what I would do when I would talk, do a show. And Tom Green had a show in college called The Midnight Caller, where he would take phone calls and just do crazy stuff. So I kind of copied that, but put my stamp of approval on it and changed it to the Midnight Mutants radio show. And we did that show at WMMT 88.7 for about 21 months. We did it for only 7 weeks at 106.3. But the show, it's funny going back, and since you said you had been in radio also, if you go back and listen to your earlier shows, you're kind of like, ugh, that we thought that was good.
Yeah,
that's not too good. But I have all the shows, and we did I think we did about 100 shows on MMT, and then we've done the show now. It's kind of weird. We've done the show now since 2006 up in DC, and it's weird the kind of roads that the show's taken, because we didn't really plan for it to change into a different kind of show. At one point, we kind of wanted to be shock jocks, so to speak, but it's really morphed into something better, and it wasn't a conscious decision to do it. So that was kind of cool that it's, and then we can go back and listen now, and I'm actually, like before, I was just proud because we had a show. Oh, we have a show. It's cool. Not that many people have a show. Now I'm more proud or happy because we have a show that's good.
Right.
And then I go back and listen to those early shows from 2003, and I'm like, we play clips on those occasionally for to make people cringe. Like if one of my co-hosts, Jake Johnston, he doesn't get to come in studio much, but when he does, occasionally we'll play old clips from there, and he's like, oh, why do you always play that? It's like, that just makes me cringe. And it's funny now, but not funny because it's good. So that's kind of a fun thing with the show. You can see kind of the evolution of the show.
Right.
Because we've been doing the show 8 years.
Well, and progression.
Yeah.
You know, the old saying, if I knew now then what I know now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you wouldn't have had as much fun progressing.
Yeah. I remember going in MMT, because I worked at the Wise and Coburn Movie Theater then. And, you know, I remember we started off playing 13 to 14 songs per show. And as the show progressed, even there, we got down to 4 songs.
Right.
We run 11 p.m. until 1 a.m. on Saturday into Sunday. And I remember, I was like, I don't really want to just play music. I want to actually have topics. And it was kind of odd that going back, sometimes the topics went nowhere. They were awful. And then we always had a problem, and still yet, getting a quick delivery from a caller. We've let calls linger for far too long, and that's kind of what I'm working on now.
Live radio, you have to love it.
Yeah, especially when we don't have a dump button on there, so we have to be careful.
Man, yeah.
But I don't think we have a delay.
Yeah,
so
for those of you that's watching that don't know, a dump button is actually a hang-up button as soon as somebody starts
saying something they shouldn't say.
Yeah, or things that they shouldn't be doing as far as noises. Then you hit the dump button and gets them off there quickly.
Yeah.
Now on Virginia Running, you have. When do you have to have this into the Sundance Committee?
That's September 26th. That's the last deadline for submission. And the plan is, we're shooting, like I said, Saturday. We're shooting all the main actress, Laken Boer. She's from the area. We're shooting all of her solo stuff Saturday. Now, the thing about her is she is in every single scene of the movie. There's not one scene of the movie that she isn't in. So, and unfortunately, she's the only person that we don't have a understudy for. We have an understudy for everyone else. So she's a very integral part of the movie. But we're shooting all her solo stuff Saturday. And what I want to try to do is, she interacts with obviously every single character in the movie. So instead of having a lot of people on set standing around, the schedule, which I'm still working on, is going to be we're going to shoot, all of this character Becky in the movie, shoot all of Becky and Laken stuff at one time, regardless of where it is. Shoot all of, Laken and Chris Mansfield, all their stuff together. So, just to get the person in and get them back, because I don't want to waste people's time, because I realize people have a life. So I think, we can do this in 10 days or less. Saturday will really tell how much we get done.
Right.
But it'll be a little different because she won't be having dialogue with people. There's one scene where she's on the phone, but that's not really with someone, because I can put the dialogue in later if I need to.
Now, is the town name that she's coming back home to, is it a fictitious name then, or?
No, it's Wise, Virginia.
Okay.
Wise, Virginia. But what I'm going to do is, because there's so many places throughout a lot of the region, Coburn, Wise, Big Stone, Norton, I don't know if, maybe Pound, but there's a lot of places that I want to shoot.
Right.
So we're just going to pretty much combine all of the towns and call them Wise.
Right.
I think, and rather than just come up with something, because I do want to get a shot of the Welcome to Wise sign as she's driving in. So when people watch the movie, they'll be like, "That's not in Wise." Probably not, you know.
But it's in Wise County.
Wise County. So yeah, there you go.
Now, as far as the movie itself goes, there is one known actor that I've not said anything about until now, and it is that you've found someone that's actually going to do a dramatic role that's outside of their norm.
Yes.
Who is that going to be?
Well, he's known as, I guess you could call him a loose cannon. that's used to doing outrageous humor, outrageous things, crazy antics, and that would be comedian and actor Andy Dick. He's been in news radio. He had his own show, The Andy Dick Show. And he's been in multiple movies. He was in The Ben Stiller Show.
Right.
And this is going to be a completely different kind of role for him. Now, I will say, after talking to him and him, tentatively doing, unless something comes up, he's in, because nothing really is 100% guaranteed. But from my phone conversations with him, he's in. And after kind of having the template of the script written, I've went back and I've put in a little more comedic elements for him. But this would by no means be a comedic role by him.
Right.
There's a couple of, I guess you could say, more quirky aspects to his character than there were originally. Because I originally wrote the character for a mother type character, and due to Twitter, you gotta love Twitter. That's how I kind of stumbled upon. We call him Andrew Dickens. I don't know why. We say Andrew Dickens.
Yeah.
I don't know why though, but yeah, that's how we stumbled upon him.
And that's awesome. And the other thing, I guess, the question, in case millions of viewers.
Yes.
Okay, let's go from millions to hundreds.
Hundreds of millions.
Hundreds of millions of viewers. You have lived, it sounds like, a great experience of a lifetime already. And I'm going to put you on. See, I told you I'd give you one surprise question.
I like that.
How old are you?
How old am I?
See, I told you.
That was a surprise question. I go by the philosophy in life that I don't really reveal my real age, due to the fact that I like to keep people guessing. That was a trick question. That was a curveball in there. I didn't expect that. But I will say that I was born in the early 80s.
Okay. And the only reason I ask that is because in America today, we keep thinking that young people can't do much.
Right.
They're not. And I think it's refreshing.
Right.
To know that there's someone who not only has their own radio show, not only has done all, and I guess the best way of putting it, has kept a level head by moving around so much. While moving around so much, you still have your roots, you still know what you are, you know where you're at, and that's refreshing.
Thank you.
Because usually you see that in the, and I'm not bashing senior citizens here, I don't think so, but you see that in the mature age, right?
I think honestly, this would be serious for a second.
Yeah.
But I think honestly, it's come from the fact, and when people see the movie, and that's one reason it was kind of always writing is a little therapeutic, I think, or writing songs, I do that, or poetry, any kind of thing where you're putting your emotions down. Less so with like the zombie picture, because it's a different kind of a script. But with this script, I went back and I actually incorporated things directly from my life. Like directly. There's one scene where Virginia is talking to her younger sister, played by Katie Barnett, and she says, like, there's this little Benji stuffed animal dog, and she said, do you know where that came from? And Katie's like, no, I don't remember. And Lakin in the script is, or Lakin says, that came from one time when mom and dad were fighting when I was really young, and I was really scared. And I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and I ran to the neighbors, and the neighbor gave this to me to comfort me when I was a kid, and and I still have it. And that's something that's directly taken from when I was a kid. I specifically remember that happening. And maybe that's one reason that I've been able to stay grounded. Maybe because success hasn't been like it's taken years. It's not like, maybe had I right out of high school had landed a role in a movie, it might not be that way. But it's not been that way, and it's not been an easy. But I honestly think that working for success is much better than if it's just handed to you. I think, like recently Paris Hilton has been, she's walked off multiple talk shows because they've asked her the question, "Are you over with?" And she's been going on, "Well, I've been in the business for 15 years and stuff like that." Maybe she has, maybe she hasn't, but it's more so handed to someone like that than someone that's actually worked their way up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Someone like a director that I look up to, Edward Burns. He does not get financing from Hollywood to make his movies. His last movie, Newlyweds, which actually has found distribution, cost $9,000, and that's kind of what I talked to him a little bit on Twitter too. I talked to a lot of people on Twitter. But in his DVDs, I always have commentary on how he made tips and clues on how to make movies for a no budget. And he's someone, he said he was up for like a director for hire, which would be like a studio hire you to do a romantic comedy or whatever. And he said his dream was to continue making these small little movies. And obviously, being in big blockbusters would be a bigger paycheck.
Right.
And I'm not putting down people that want to do that.
No,
that's fine. But my job, or my goal really is to be a screenwriter, an actor, and a director, and to entertain people. Whether that make them laugh. I love to make people laugh, but whether it's to make them laugh, make them cry, make them feel an emotion, even on a small scale, that's really I just want to make small Ed Burns / Woody Allen kind of movies, talky movies that aren't everyone's cup of tea, but I enjoy them, and I think a lot of people enjoy them.
And also with the, I don't want to say invention, but I guess the progression of the internet and YouTube and all the other things that's going on, there really is a niche for people who want to see these type of things.
Yeah.
And I think that as you said, people like Edward Byrne, yourself, they're sort of showing Hollywood you've gotten out of touch.
Yeah.
You're spending millions of dollars to make a movie that's not any better than Newlyweds.
Right.
And the sponsorship and all that is wonderful, and I hope someday that I can go, man, I knew him, when you're rich and famous and walking the red carpet to receive your Emmy, whatever. But I think it's important to know that it gives hope to people that there still is the ability to make it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's one thing. Even if the movie doesn't find distribution, there's Netflix, straight to DVD, iTunes. Ed Burns' last movie, Nice Guy Johnny, didn't find distribution, and I think it was his movie before that, Purple Violets, was the first movie in history to debut on iTunes, and it was a good movie. And I often wonder why did this not find distribution when they're spending $200 million on Green Lantern?
Yeah.
And I'm not putting down anybody that likes Green Lantern, but it's not a good movie. I don't think it's a good movie. The 3D was amazing, but it's kind of weird that Hollywood has maybe not wasted, but spent so much money on these type of blockbuster movies. $200 million to make, $100 million promotion and marketing. So they're going to have to at least clear. Hollywood usually only gets half a return back, so they're at least going to have to clear $500 million to make something back. That's not counting toys and all that stuff.
Right.
But when you can make a $1 million movie and it makes $3 million back, not a lot profit, but you can continue doing this.
That's right.
And but I think with the internet, because cameras now, they're not super expensive like they were. It's not $25,000, $30,000 for a camera. You can go out and buy a really good Canon camera. We're shooting on a Canon 5D, and it's just a couple $1,000s.
Right.
But you can get even smaller cameras and make great, like even with the iPhone quality is amazing. I mean, the iPhone quality is better than VHS quality.
That's exactly. And Apple, if you're watching, we need sponsorship for this movie.
Apple would be amazing.
We're mentioning iPhone here. No.
Yes. But yeah, and you know how many people have an iPhone and cameras like that, or phones like that, and I mean, there's multiple things that we have shot with the iPhone and edited together to make a little interview, to make a little segue, to make a little short. We made a series of shorts last year called The Runner, which was about this guy running from something. You don't know what he's running from. And the only reason it came about is because we wanted to test out a camera. Initially, we tested out an HD camera, but I think we moved over to the iPhone and shot some stuff with the iPhone. But it was like, it's just like there for everyone. So I think it does with the internet. There's a lot of drawbacks to the internet, I guess. But for filmmakers and people, even with music, it's really good that it's there.
Oh, it's an avenue to showcase if you and again, distribution a lot of times is not built upon how good a movie is.
No.
And that, in Hollywood, at least, it's built on how much money it will make.
It's based on how much money it'll make. Like there's so many movies that I see, and I see a lot of movies. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm a film lover, and I see, and I also work at a movie theater, so I don't have to really pay for movies. So I see stuff that I normally probably wouldn't pay for.
Right.
But there's so many movies that could be good, but they want to spend an extra $50 million, to put, to change it to 2D to 3D, which is cool, which is fine. 3D doesn't matter if you don't have a good story.
No.
3D doesn't matter if you don't have good actors.
3D sells the kids.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a lot of times why they do it. It's Virginia Running, Adam Chaffin, and I tell you what, it's been a pleasure having you here today. And again, like I said, you're always welcome back anytime you'd like to come back about Heritage. And we appreciate you being here.
Thanks a lot.
Any last closing words?
Last closing words would be we're looking for people that want to invest or donate, and if they want to do that, they can email me at virginiarunning@gmail.com. And if they want to find me on Facebook, it's just facebook.com/Jason Adam Chaffin. Adam Chaffin was already taken. And I'm a big fan of Twitter, so you can go to twitter.com/Adam Chaffin and add me or follow me on there, and I'll follow you back.
And what would they expect for their donation?
A donation would, first and foremost, you would get a credit within, on the screen. But what I'm going to do with all investors, before I make any money, because that, honestly, and it sounds silly, that's not my goal for this movie, is to make money for myself. The goal of this movie is to make the movie and to get it. It sounds weird now, but the success for me will be when it's finished, but more so when it's in the theaters.
Yeah.
So, which with each investor, I'm going to pay the investor back. We've already had 3 investors back. Back the film. So that's going to be the first and foremost goal, to get them their money, plus a little extra depending on how much the movie makes. But people that want to donate, they'll get, they can be an extra in the movie, possibly a speaking line if they would want. Obviously, they'll get a producer credit within the credits, and I'll mention them, I can mention them on Facebook and Twitter. On press that I do.
That's right.
So
on a radio show, you might. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the finished product.
I am too.
And to see.
I am too.
And it's great that you like to make people laugh. Keep that up, because, as they say, laughter is the best medicine.
Agreed.
For Heritage TV and for Virginia Running, thank you for tuning in.